My name is Freya, and I'm a domestic abuse survivor. I married my high school sweetheart, who was an abusive alcoholic and was in the military and had no recourse at work to take out his frustrations, as that's what he felt. So he took them out on me at home. I've been pushed through walls. I've had my head smacked into door frames. I've been strangled. I've been held underwater. The worst thing that happened was when I was thrown from a porch and then was proceeded to be jumped on top of and had my head slammed into the ground repeatedly, beaten, and then was strangled until he thought I was dead. And that was the worst of it. After that had happened, and I'd given up. I knew that I was either going to die in that relationship or I had the chance to possibly try to get out of it. But he'd always said, you know, if you leave me, I'll hunt you down and kill you. So I said, well, if I'm going to die anyways, I'm going to try to die doing what's right for me, and that's to get out. My grandfather was a huge help. My mother was a huge help. He being my husband at the time, had injured himself on the job and was going for rehabilitation. And my mother secretly sent me a answering machine. And I held it and hid it. I never connected it or anything. And I waited until he went for rehab, vocational rehab, at another base. And then I hooked it up. And I called the base and I left a message for him for when he arrived that said the next time he saw me would be in divorce court, and he knew why. And then I took what was left in the bank account and I moved. He found me after that. Because I obviously wasn't answering the phone. He found me after that. And then eventually my grandfather contacted me and said, listen, let me send you a bus ticket home. I'm going to make it one way. And if you ever want to go back, I'll get you a bus ticket to go back. But come home and visit. And so I packed up some of my stuff and I went home for a visit. And there I was in my loving family. And I said, you know, they forgave me for crazy things that I had done when I was a teenager and leaving home the way that I did. And so in my family, I found the strength to stay and to really move out of that situation. I took a bus back and got the rest of my stuff. And he was obviously back at that point. And I said, no, I'm done. I'm going back home. And I had to file for divorce, and I did all that on I shouldn't say on my own. I did that with my mother's help. But I did it without a lawyer. I did it pro se. After I was strangled and had my concussion, I was in the hospital for 5 days. And I had all of the blood vessels in my eyes had burst. And I was having severe headaches and real bad light sensitivity. And the doctors there just said, that's going to happen for a while. It'll get better. And this was 1990, so there wasn't a whole lot, you know, that people knew at that point, as far as I know. And so I never really had any rehab for my brain. I just jumped back into life and survived day after day until I was able to leave. And when I got home, I kind of reverted back to being a teenager. It was like a wild child for a while. But I worked as a waitress. I worked and worked and worked. And I sang. And for me, singing has always kind of been my therapy. It's my happy place. you know, singing and doing crafts. So doing small hand things have always done that for me. And about 15 years ago, I started noticing that I would forget words. I would forget names. People I knew for years, I remember their face, but I can't remember their names. And it's progressively gotten worse. And that actually brings me to how I ended up here. After 15 years, I found an article written by Dr. Eve Valera, and it was about a research study she had done. And I'm looking at these symptoms and I'm going, I've got that. I've got that. Oh my God, could these be related to my concussion? And so in a panic, I sent an email to the woman whose name was on there and said, can you please connect me with Eve Valera? And she did. And the next thing I know, Eve and I had connected and we talked on the phone for 2 hours, and she made me feel like there was some hope for the possibility of recovery, and encouraged me to never stop singing, and just I felt very encouraged. And then she sent me an email and said, would you be interested in connecting with Pink Concussions and speaking on a panel there? And I said, absolutely. If it's something that might be able to help other people with concussions or help researchers or whatever, any way I can help, absolutely. Because after feeling like this for so long, finally knowing that there's a possibility that there can be help, I need to do whatever I can to let my story be a lesson, be a guide, be helpful in any way that I can. And Pink Concussions has been able to give me that gateway to express myself and to connect me with people who have also been through the same thing that I've been through and similar things that I've been through. And we're all on this healing path together, and I finally feel hopeful.